The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast platform, its affiliates, or even the hosts. The information provided is for general informational purposes only and should not be taken as legal, financial, or professional advice. The host and guests are not liable for any errors of omission in the content, nor for any losses, injuries, or damages arising from the use of the information provided. Listeners are encouraged to seek professional advice relevant to their specific circumstances. Now enjoy the show.
And welcome everyone to my premiere episode of Spotlight with That Be with the United Front Network. I am so excited to bring this episode to everyone for two reasons, really. One is because I have been longing for an actual artist or for a reason for me to attend an event at one of these locations in Miami, which oddly enough, I have never been to, and that is Live in Miami Beach at the Fontainebleau. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the perfect artist to be there that would get me to drive as far as Live is from my actual house. And of course, the moment they posted the flyer that Chris Brown would be celebrating his 36th birthday, happy birthday, Chris Brown, at Live, I knew that this was definitely the perfect time for me to finally do the spotlight. I am definitely glad that I did it. I am here to share with everyone what a time I had, my experience. As I normally do, I will let everyone know about different things from my experience, like there was ample parking, which I do like to mention to people. It was definitely a location where I did feel safe. I went by myself, a single lady out here in the streets at a particular time of night in Miami. It is always a concern, but I definitely did feel safe. The parking was very close to the actual event. It was in walking distance and it wasn't anything of an uncomfortable walk. And of course, it would have been all well worth it for the person I was there to see, which is one of my favorite artists of all time, and that is Chris Brown. So I was, from beginning to end, I was definitely smiling, like I'm always doing my smile checks with everyone. And I was definitely a little nervous, even though I am at this point really familiar with doing a lot of these events, even traveling out of state for the events. Um, again, safety was one of my main priorities. Um, I wanted to also make sure that it was a venue that a lot of people have asked me about, but it was definitely a venue that I would recommend to others as well. It is definitely a club feel. I am more used to lounges in Miami, but this was definitely a club feel. It is not an outdoor club. It is not like the Urban, which is another location that Headliner does promote, but that is outside. Live is definitely an indoor spot. It was two levels from what I saw. The dance floor was a little bit small in comparison to other clubs I have been to in Miami. However, because it had more than one level and it did have two stair cases where you could go on either side, it didn't feel claustrophobic or too tight. Even though I don't know if I have been to an event in a very long time, maybe a festival, where I have seen so many people. attend. I actually myself was extremely happy to see all the support, all the love that Chris Brown got that night, because as I mentioned, he is one of my favorite artists, and I do feel he gets a lot of slack for a lot of different things. And it was nice to see that the night was everyone showing him a lot of love. Um, so I wanted to also mention how throughout the night, a lot of unexpected things happened for me. Now, I only went there really to see Chris Brown. Um, I loved the decor. I loved, the color scheme of the actual location. I took some footage to show everyone how throughout the night the crowd definitely increased. Um, it was a very good crowd, and that is also something I like to share with everyone, because at times you can go to an event and you're just not feeling the vibe that everyone else is on. People aren't necessarily friendly or courteous. And I must say, for such a large crowd, that was not the case at this event. Normally, I can say this from my experience, all the events I've gone to that are headliner events, whether it be the doo-wop or whether now live, or whether it be different locations where they do their events in Miami, the one thing that seems to be consistent is the crowd that they bring in. It's definitely a positive energy. We're just here to party. We're not here to have any problems type of crowd, which I love. No problems is the way to go. So I arrive. I did notice throughout the night, initially, Chris Brown was not there. It is something where throughout the night, I noticed that the crowd was increasing in size. The music itself, I only wish that they would have played more Chris Brown music. I mean, we were there to celebrate his birthday. I personally, they could have had Chris Brown from the beginning of the night all the way to the end. I would have been super happy. However, that was not the case. Now, I am the DJ Whisperer, so I am very selective about what DJs I actually go and want to spend hours listening to. I have heard this DJ before at a couple headliner events, and he's not necessarily my vibe, because again, I would have liked more, for example, R&B. Even though maybe that particular location is more a hip hop dance music type of crowd. Understandably so. We are not at the Urban Betty or a doo-wop. We are actually at Live. So things are different. I completely understood that. And regardless, I was there to see Chris Brown. I did know that he was only hosting, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. It was not that he was supposed to sing, perform, any of that sort. It was his birthday. I 100% understood that. And I wasn't expecting that. I really did know that he was just going to be there as a host. Oh, wait, let me put my fingers in the way so you can see, as a host. Um, I was content with what I experienced. Um, Again, it was super packed. So expect a lot. People had told me it's going to be a lot of people, but because it is something where he brings in a huge crowd. I completely understand why people say that now. And now I know for the next time what to look forward to as far as what type of crowd. The other thing is that the celebrities that came out to support him on his birthday happened to be celebrities that I just, first of all, I had not met them yet. And secondly, they're celebrities or artists that I am already a huge fan of. So one of the surprises of the night was I was standing in a particular location, and it was hard to find a spot where either there wasn't another content creator already getting content, or I wasn't being pushed to the side because the crowd was trying to get around. So I placed myself in the perfect location, apparently, which was right in front of one of the main VIP areas. I befriended one of our or one of the security guards from the area where I was in, who allowed me. He was gracious enough to allow me to post up against one of the, I don't know if it was like a counter or if it was the back of a couch. I'm not sure. But I posted up there, just chilling, waiting for when Chris Brown, or when they announced Chris Brown was going to arrive. And lo and behold, what do I see? But they're walking people into this VIP area. And who do they place right in front of me? But Jamie Foxx himself. Oh my God. I I was in total awe. There's no other word for it. Now, I am a huge Jamie Foxx fan. I've been a huge Jamie Foxx fan ever since I was in high school and ever since he was on In Living Color. I think I've watched all his movies. I watch his stand-ups. I'm a true fan of his music, of his entire talent, to be honest. So I was low key, I was wicked impressed. I was extremely happy. And I did initially try not to fan out and get too much content and be up in his face with the camera. But since others were doing it, and he was very friendly with everyone, he wasn't being bougie at all. He was actually shaking hands with everyone. So many people were there showing him so much love that filled me with joy, especially after the health scare that he had. I had already been concerned for some time because there were people I had asked in the industry, where's Jamie Foxx? Is he doing well? I hope everything's going well with him, because I I was waiting to see when the next time was he would pull up in Miami. Now, I didn't know that the night before he had been at another event, but I didn't go to that event. I didn't find out till afterwards that event posted their content. So I really had no idea he was in Miami. So to see that, to get the content that I did, I spent quite a few hours just standing in that area, getting my content, seeing him just the way he is with his followers and his fans, and soaking up all that positive vibe and good energy. It really, really, for me, it's one of the things that made my night. And then I see them walk over Buster Rhymes, a little bit over, maybe a couple feet over on one side, Buju Banton's there. Next thing I know, we see that they're bringing more people in as they're announcing so and so has arrived. I think at one point they were like, Ray J is here. I personally didn't see him, but I want to definitely show some of these clips, including a group picture that I was able to get. And in this particular picture, you see Garcia, which is a professional fighter, and I'm a huge boxing fan. And he was also there hanging out with the guys, with Busta, with Jamie Foxx and others, as I say. But I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I don't know a lot of these people's names. I was already in heaven with the people that were in my presence. So I was able to get some content, and I want to pull up my engineer so he could help me show y'all some of the content that I was able to get. A lot of it is what I just described. So I wanted to invite RG, my engineer. Wait, it's the other side. RG, my engineer.
Yeah.
So RG
Bam.
already has had an earful of me talking
Yes.
to him.
I've had 2 whole weeks of Chris Brown. I've been waiting to see this footage because I've heard her talk about this not at nauseum, because your excitement is infectious, but yo, I've been waiting to see this myself.
I That's how I felt. I felt like while I was there, I felt like the excitement of everyone there, just waiting for when Chris Brown would show up, or when Breezy would show up, and then the excitement of seeing other, and I don't like calling them celebrities, but other artists that I am just so fond of, and that I've been a fan of for years now, considering my age. And I'm saying that, and Buster Rhymes is definitely one of these people, because since he was in Leaders of the New School, Leaders of the New School, and a lot of people don't know, but I love to say it, they were the very first hip hop group I ever saw live.
Really? No way.
Yes,
And I
yes,
rock with Leaders of the New School. That was my squad.
and right, and
Yeah.
and that was, I saw them at UConn. There was like a huge concert one time, and my sister went to UConn. For those that don't know,
Dope.
she was an alum, and they would have like these events at, and I want to say it's like a minority culture society, and us being Latina, my sister was part of that. So then she had told me that they would have these certain events, and concerts, and one of those shows was a whole bunch of rock, which was weird, but it was a whole bunch of rock artists. And then one of the other artists that was in the actual event was Leaders of the New School. And I was a
Oh
huge
wow.
hip hop head already in high school.
Like you're
So
not now. Okay.
no,
you
but I'm
still
saying,
you still are a hip hop head.
no, but I mean, at that point in high school, I was already a huge hip hop head. So
Right.
the moment she told me Leaders of the New School, I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to be there. But I'm sure that's why she told me, because she knew I was going to be like, oh, hell yeah. So
Right. Right.
now, in all these years, I've never even come across neither Jamie Foxx. And Jamie Foxx, here's the funny thing, has been to live and has also done a lot of headliner events. And headliner, shout out to Mike Gardner, who is headliner. And headliner puts together all these events. There has been times where, and even other Chris Brown events, I think one time they went to Orlando, but
Mhm.
it just never was right. Neither to see Buster Rhymes or Jamie Foxx or Breezy. So the fact that this all happened in one night
In one night. That's crazy.
is, it was kismet. So
Dope. Very dope.
so our Gene is gonna
Ma'am.
pull up some clips, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about the clips as we see them. All in all, I had an amazing night. I want this to come through to everybody from this conversation, and that is that I had an amazing night.
All right. So I want to bring up your people because I remember you talked about the crowd. I did cheat though. I did bring up your Jamie Foxx photo because you love him so much. So I had to put y'all
Yeah.
side by side. So forgive me for that because
Oh,
I was like,
okay. I was like,
it's like family. All right. So this is your crowd.
so this crowd, what I'm trying to show here is the amount of people that were at this event. And at this particular point, I am really just holding up my phone up real high, because there was a moment where I'm like, let me turn around and see if there's a lot of people still here. This might
Yes.
have been like 2 hours already into the event.
Dope,
Mind
dope,
you,
dope,
there
dope.
was still people arriving when I left, and I left at about 4 in the morning,
AM?
a.m. I
Oh my
was
gosh, I feel
there.
so old. I'm usually in bed
I
by midnight.
Let me tell you, I wasn't expecting to be there that long. I was not. Wait, was it 4? It was either 3:30 or 4.
Same
It was
thing.
right before the place was supposed to close. And it was, honestly, it was because my feet couldn't take no more.
But
And that there is something I did want to mention. Oh, there's me as I'm actually sitting there vibing to the music, but I'm actually standing there. Right in front of me is Jamie Foxx, And now they're all standing up on the VIP furniture so they could see the crowd. And they're
Oh,
mingling with everybody. So they're mingling with ladies, with gentlemen. They're being so humble and just speaking to whomever is approaching them that it was no lie, it was amazing to see, because it's good to see that they actually are for the people. Um,
nice.
and that and again, for them to show both, and I mean the people, to show both Busta and Jamie Foxx so much love, it was, for me, it was touching. They
Dope.
they deserve it. I think they are goats in this industry, and they deserve all that positive energy and attention. So this
True.
is me deciding, okay, how am I going to find a location where I could finally see Chris Brown? He got there, by the way, with a huge entourage. So it was something where I had to finagle my way. Oh, that's me again. Oh, that's me actually singing to some of the music. And I happened to then notice when I looked to the side, I was like, oh, well, the gentleman I know would love to see the dancers. And then I wanted to get a shot of the headliner. There's like a pole that says headliner in lights. I wanted to make sure that I got that. And then, of course, more people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now,
Headliner.
these young ladies were in different spots throughout the club where you could see them dancing. They were, for those that want to know this, they were I believe the appropriate term is a go-go girl. So they were not strippers, and they had pasties, but they did have, obviously, like thongs on and, clothes. It's not, for those that do want to know that, because I know some people are a bit sensitive to nudity.
Yeah.
So they weren't full on. And in Miami, honestly, that is like, you might as well be wearing a turtleneck in Miami. Because that is nothing. But some people are sensitive to nudity, so I did want to point that out.
Oh, well,
It was still, I didn't feel like it was trashy, so I wasn't offended in any way. But
it's
to
a
each their
party in
own.
Miami.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. It's hello. It's a Chris. I was like, if anybody is sensitive about this, then maybe you shouldn't be at a Chris Brown event. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Because one thing
His
Chris does is bring
concert.
out all the baddies. That's just what he does. That's Chris Brown.
I I was just about to say that his concert alone has gorgeous women, very wearing very little clothes at times as well, and doing certain, grinding moves and whatnot, that it is not for the faint of heart. So
Provocative. There you go.
provocative is a perfect word. Again, I was not offended. It wasn't anything trashy. Um, and it's not something I haven't seen in clubs in Miami. I used to frequent Club Space a lot here in Miami in my younger years, and there's a lot of dancers there, which sometimes are wearing a lot less than what you see those young ladies wearing. So, but I did want to mention it because, again, it could be a couple that's going, and maybe the young lady that is with the man is not going to be too happy with seeing, go-go dancers there. But that was, as far as I see, that's just part of the entertainment.
Oh, can I ask you a quick question? Because
Of
I've never
course.
been to Miami. So is that par for the course? Having like the ladies nicely dressed, and is that like par for most events of this nature?
Um,
I'm
only
asking for a
depending
friend.
only depending on the events that you're going to. For example, at the Urban,
Mhm.
when I do go to the Urban, which is another location that Headliner has events at, uh, there isn't dancers, but the bartenders or the servers are wearing something similar, not pasties, but they'll
Mhm.
have like a something that's a thong that exposes their buttocks. They're ample rear a lot, and it's kind of, it's normally, if you it's something where you would see like a onesie, so it could have like long sleeves if it's cold out, or it could have no sleeves, but the whole point is you definitely get to appreciate a woman's body. But
Nice.
they're just in those particular events, they're just the servers. So it's kind of
Nice.
something you become immune to. You're used to seeing it. And those young ladies that lived did have body paint on. So
Okay.
it does appear like they're dressed. You really have to be like, or do they have like a top on? Super close to them to actually really see if they're exposing much. At least that's my experience. I don't know because, depending on who you are, you might be a gentleman that is just very observant.
Yeah. Well played. Well played.
Yeah.
All right. Be careful out there, folks. Don't ruin your life.
So do we have more clips? I think we do. We got a couple
Oh,
more clips.
absolutely, my friend. I'm just, telling you, let me know when you're ready to see them. All right. And I'm saving the Chris Brown picture for last, just so you know.
Okay. That's perfect. So
right.
I guess one of the things we could do is what we got here. Oh, this is me again showing because I wanted to show people what the actual venue looked like. I wanted to grab one of the clips of Jamie Foxx so I could show Jamie.
Yeah, I'll run it back because he's right there.
Okay. And now that right there is Garcia, one of the pro fighters, which I'm surprised he was there as well. Now, mind you, this is my first time at Live. So the fact that there were so many different people in the entertainment business were there wasn't, and I believe Chris Brown is there in that crowd. And that was for me to show how many people were in his entourage, because that particular clip that has Chris Brown it's only his entourage around him there.
Wow. That's a lot of fun.
And here is where I was standing. Now, behind all these people up higher in like a stage setup, that is actually where Chris Brown and his entourage are. This is just all the regular people. Well, not the regular people, because depending on where I was aiming the camera, I'm also showing where the VIP area was, and that's where you see Jamie Foxx and Busta, and I'm only mentioning the people that I actually saw and recognized.
Are you ready for the Busta clip? Because we do have it.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the Busta clip. And here we go. Now, this was the very end of the night where Busta decides to give a little speech. He's bigging up Chris Brown. He's wishing him happy birthday. He's congratulating them. I think we were talking about this before the actual episode where you had mentioned for sure it was the 10 million. And I believe it's 10 million streams. Am I right about that? Or 10 million records sold? I'm not sure.
For Look At Me Now, it's probably records. That's before streaming really took off. So he probably had legit 10 million records sold. Because I have that record. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No,
that record was crazy.
Who doesn't love that record? The fact that he was able to do this and he actually said so many kind words about Chris Brown and was bigging him up and congratulating them. At this point, everybody had already sung happy birthday. But I wanted to get this as far as a clip because I wanted to show again so many people giving so much love to Breezy. It's well deserved, if you ask me. You must be doing something right if so many people went out of their way that particular night to be in such a crowded event and for quite some hours just to make sure that, at least for myself, I did it to make sure that I showed my support for, again, one of my favorite artists. So I think
got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So when going to this event, what would be the one tip you would have? If you had one thing that you wish you had done, what would that one thing would have been? Got there early, stayed a little later, wore better shoes. What would be your words of wisdom for
Well,
something like
it's
this?
as far as the shoes,
Hmm.
I do recommend this. I made sure that once I found out about the event, got everything together. One of the main things I always do with all these events is I look up to see what is the dress code for the event. And here's why I say this, RG, because I have been quite a few times um, to certain events where they might not be, it wasn't something like this that was planned. It's something unexpected, and I'm not wearing the appropriate either shoes or attire. And depending on who you know or how much you want to flex, they might not let you in. And I
Right,
just
right.
didn't want to have to go through any type of hassle. So I made sure, as for example, that I knew that there was parking in the area, which
Hmm.
there was. Again, it was a walking distance. I made sure I wore comfortable enough shoes because it did state that you couldn't wear shorts and that you couldn't wear flats and you couldn't wear sneakers for women.
Yeah,
So otherwise, I would have went in my Adidas or my Nikes.
right.
Um,
That's fair.
so so definitely check to see what the dress code is because I might, for example, I knew the person throwing the event. I might, if they're not allowing me to get in there, I could have seen if I could, have them call Mike Gardner over, hey, Mike, and, I can finagle my way. Or I can create a story and tell them, hey, I actually came from a whole nother state and, I
Well,
don't have
okay.
any.
What Betty's not telling you is she has connections. She's trying to be humble, but I'm gonna brag for her. Betty has connections. Don't let all this humbleness fool you. She could have
Not
got
just
in.
connections, not
I'm
just
just saying, you could have
connections.
got in, dog.
You
I'm
could
gonna brag for you.
say, you could say I have a way with people.
A
So
connection. Call it what it is.
my suggestion, no, this was my first time at Live. The only person I really would have known there was my gardener, and he's always super busy.
Yeah.
So it's not something where I want to actually, have to bother people for anything. So you don't have to go through that. Do your due diligence and do your research beforehand. Make sure that you're dressed appropriately. So I definitely suggest that. Um, I didn't expect that many people to be there. I'm going to be honest with you. It really did throw me back when I saw the amount of people. Again, it's a positive thing. Not everybody was like on a good vibe. That's one of the things that I really, really liked about it. It was a lot. I mean, the amount of people I cannot express. I mean,
I'm
look
just
at that.
showing other stuff. Yeah, that's crazy.
I cannot, and that's just one angle. There's
Right.
still the way the club is set up. You could stand in the middle of the actual dance floor, and it is like you could do like a 180. So I tried at some points to just stand in the middle and just turn around and get like all the content, but
Actually,
it
you
was
did. Let's do the
oh
dancing girl one more time. Yes.
one more time.
Because
Whoa!
that was very much a 360.
Oh no, and that's me giving my my peace sign. Um, but we didn't get to see the clip with Jamie Foxx. Or do we have the picture at least where it's all the guys?
The myth, the legend himself. We do have him. I was saving that for
Okay,
last. 'Cause I know that's your favorite shot. And
okay,
the main thing we had was we kind of showed it earlier, but it can't be understated. Your main picture with everyone kind of just vibing out.
yeah,
Let's see the one where the first one where you actually did the panoramic that had like Garcia and everyone. So those are the main
okay,
clips you had for this episode. And to make sure you go see her Instagram, there is footage on her Instagram that you kind of need to see.
yes,
So,
no, not kinda, definitely. So I did create a reel,
mm-hmm.
which was it was a little bit hard because I did add the song "Press Me," which is one of my favorite Chris Brown songs. I did add it to the reel, so it was flagged by IG and because of the music. However, it has really good content in it. A lot of close-ups with everything that I'm mentioning. So I definitely do suggest you should always check my IG as far as content, especially when I do my spotlights. And that is with the handle that_B74, which is also my handle on TikTok and on YouTube. So I'm all in all, I thought it was definitely worth it. I can't wait for when Breezy Bowl gets here in July, which July is my birthday month. So this was like the precursor for me. This was the am I making a huge deal about Breezy? Because I'm Team Breezy. I'm Team Breezy all day. But am I making a huge deal? What's it really going to be like? Now that I experienced this, I cannot wait for Breezy Bowl.
So for those who don't know, what is Breezy Bowl? Because this is the first I've heard of this. So please enlighten us. Yes.
So Breezy Bowl is.
I like the artist, but I don't know his culture like you. That's why I go to Betty for all my Breezy coverage. What is Breezy Bowl? Breezy
Bowl is what he's calling his tour. His tour now in the United States. He's calling it Breezy Bowl. So I can't wait. Again, I can't wait. Now I also know that I would definitely want to attend another event where it has Busta Rhymes. And I would definitely want to attend another event that has Jamie Foxx. And I wanted to cuss right there because it makes you want to cuss. The way he was again, and I cannot say this enough, the way he was with everyone and being so courteous, and he took so many pictures. He was being so friendly. If you look on my IG with the reel that I created, you will see him where he's just being his phenomenal self. He was giving away champagne to people and shots. And
nice.
He was just enjoying life. And it was amazing to see that. And to see everybody give him all the love that they gave him. And to see everyone giving so much love to everyone else. Again, like Buju Banton, Busta Rhymes, Garcia got a lot of love too. I'm happy to say, since I'm standing there at one point just dancing, and I'm just trying to dance in place because there's so many people that you can't even really dance or walk around. Right. So, and I'm good posted up where I was, RG, because I look at what I'm seeing. Like, I am not moving until Breezy gets here. When I got there, I got my content, and I propped myself right back up where I was. And in one of these moments, for whatever reason, I do not know why, Garcia decides, you know what? Let me show the ladies in front of me my abs.
See?
So all of a sudden, I see him go like this. He lifts up his shirt. The girl next to me almost fell out because the entire time she was already like goo goo gaga over Garcia. And the whole time I'm thinking, I know this person and I know them from boxing. But here's my thing, RG. You know, I do boxing as it is. I've been to so many gyms in Miami. And I'm thinking, do I know this person personally? Or is this, and I'm thinking, is this the pro Garcia? People do ask me as far as the pricing for drinks. They definitely were something where it was the same type of pricing that you would expect in Wynwood. And I mean, I was at Miami Beach, so I didn't expect anything different. For safety purposes, a lot of times what I like to do is I like to have a beer or I like to drink seltzer water when I'm out.
Oh, that's another question. I'm glad you brought that up. Can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
What would be the proper way to protect yourself when buying drinks at a bar? Because usually if it's an open bar, that means there's a lot of hands over your drink. What is a safe way to protect your drink in such a crowded place?
So what I do is I normally get a beer.
Okay.
Because one thing is they have to open it right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, usually the server will either open the can or open the bottle right in front of you. And at times, if it's a bottle, they'll leave even the cap on. So I personally, I have a story where one time at Space, at a Halloween event, I'm there dressed like Little Red Riding Hood and everything. And I happened to do a tremendous party foul for Miami standards, which is I'm at the event and I actually was having a Corona that day. It's the only thing I drank. And I tell this story for people to learn from my mistake. So I get a phone call or a text and I'm preoccupied with the phone. So what I do is I take my drink, which is my beer, and I sit it down in front of me on the bar.
Oh boy.
I was so preoccupied with my phone that I completely forgot about the beer. I did notice people around looking at the bottle, like a man that was standing near me. And this is years ago, but I still remember that feeling of, oh, wait a second. Why is he watching it? So I grabbed my beer bottle. And what I did was, this is where the party foul is. We're always told in Miami, once you do that, throw that drink away and get yourself another drink.
Facts.
I didn't. I was like, I look at it and I look at him and he looks away. So I'm thinking, nah, I'm imagining it. I look at the bottle. I didn't see anything inside when I look, and I finished the bottle. And then soon after that, the person texting me, I'm telling them, all right, I'm going to come pick you up. I had to go pick up, and this person ends up being the man that I married. But this was one of the moments that we had together as a couple where it was scary because I go to pick him up and it might have been half an hour from where I was at the event to where he was at that I had to go pick him up. By the time I went to go pick him up, it was like I had drank the entire night long. Damn. That is how out of it I was. I was driving recklessly. I was hitting curbs. It was crazy where he had to tell me, I need you to pull over because you're going to kill us both. And he kept telling me, oh my God, Betty, like, how much have you drank? You don't even drink like that. And I was like, I only had one beer.
Oh, man.
And
scary stuff, man.
Yeah, that night and even afterwards, once, I woke up after sleeping hours, it felt like, we had the conversation and he was like, I'm pretty sure they stuck something in your drink because you were acting like you had drank for like 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came out safe though, because I asked that question to a lot of folks and most people don't have a good answer. So at least you were able to give the people the experience and safely recover from it. So thank you for that.
Definitely. Now, I'm also not the type of party girl in Miami where I do illicit drugs or anything like that. The most that I'm even around in Miami is marijuana. Good. So when I see crazy things, I'm already one of those people that I'm like, all right, well, this is not my vibe. I'm out of here. So it never occurred to me that I would be somewhere and somebody would stick something in my beer. I'm going to be honest with you. Being from Miami, and at the time I was in my early 30s, I thought I already had everything figured out. I never thought that would happen to me. But ever since then, now I'm very aware of where I put my drink. I know now for sure that if I even got to guess something might have happened, I'm going to throw that out. And that is my suggestion to people. You really never know. And then what I do like to do is if I don't drink a lot as it is, but what I do like to do is will order a seltzer water, or, if somebody is like, could I get you a drink or whatever, like that particular night, I wasn't going to drink. I had a water. And somebody offered to buy me a drink, and I was like, sure, you can get me a beer. And I was already at the bar. The other thing I wanted to mention was there was a lot of ample bar area. So we did not, not myself nor anyone else did I see really have to make a line to get a drink. Also, I didn't have to wait in line for the bathroom, not once.
Oh, damn. For that much
Yeah.
crowd, no bathroom waits?
No, none.
Damn.
And they were super clean bathrooms. Though that I loved about the place. And they were actual full bathrooms, because sometimes here in Miami, what you get is kind of like a makeshift bathroom. Or they ask you to go outside or like to some type of, it kind of looks like
not a porta-john, huh?
Not a porta-john, but it kind of looks like a little lunch truck, but it's not a lunch truck, it's bathrooms.
I never. You see, I'm like, what?
Yeah. So it's like the size of a lunch truck, and there's like a little stair, and there's a door, and like where you would see people working in the lunch truck, it's an actual bathroom. So sometimes I see that, like the Urban has that, but it is outdoors. But to give you an example, there are locations you go to where you do, and I've been to some places that are bougie in Miami, and yet I go to the bathroom and I'm mortified. So
yeah, that would make me not drink. If I got to go into the horror show to like relieve myself, yeah, that makes me not want to drink.
Or waiting in this ridiculous line. Because, you know, a lot of times when you're waiting in these lines, whether it be for the bar or whether it be for the bathroom, this is where a lot of situations happen because people will get into arguments as you're waiting in these lines. But that was neither here nor there, because that was not the case at this place. There was no lines for the bathrooms. There was plenty of bathrooms, and it was the same situation for the bar. So for me, Live is not necessarily my crowd, but would I recommend it to someone else? Most definitely. I enjoyed myself. I didn't have any bad experience that I could really speak of. And my small complaints are, I only wish we would have heard more from Chris Brown. I do understand it was Breezy's birthday. He was hanging out with his people. He didn't have to do anything. And just the fact that I was able to see him and to see, there was so many times where I saw him smiling so hard because of everybody that was talking to him and everything that was going on, that right there, it made my night. That and seeing all the love, not just that he was getting, but that everybody was giving everyone else, like Jamie Foxx and Busta.
Dope.
Yeah. And once again, there was others there. There was like a list, I think I saw somebody post of the people that attended, and it was a huge list. However, some of these people I just do not know. But since I was there for Chris Brown, I was super content. And now I really can't wait for July.
I got one more question.
One more. Let's go.
Yep. How much was this event for you? Just a rough estimate, because people are going to want to know. You know, is it a couple $100, $10? How much does it cost to get in a Breezy party?
So when I pulled up the actual pricing, just to see, in case somebody would ask, this isn't a lot considering who was at the event and where the event was. But I did see that, for example, if you wanted to do a VIP table, it was, I believe, and I'm trying to remember the pricing. So I believe it was a grand. It was $1,000 for a VIP table.
And probably still pay for bottle service, I would imagine.
But they had different tiers. Now the catch with that is I didn't look because I wasn't trying to be part of VIP. I like being part of the general population so I can get my content and see everything I saw. However, I've been to events where I'm part of the VIP table, and when I do ask, a lot of times people will tell you, yeah, but it's $1,000, but it's only 5 per table. So I don't know if that's the case. I would definitely suggest, if you're going to be doing one of these events, you definitely research, not just look at the price and be like, oh, VIP table, okay, me and 10, or me and 9 of my friends. Because
Nope.
your idea of 10 paying 100 is not going to work if they're restricting it to a certain amount of people per table.
Right.
Sometimes they'll tell you 5, sometimes they'll tell you 6, sometimes they tell you, it doesn't matter because the person throwing the event.
Right.
Now, general admission for any of these events, depending on who the artist is, it could range from 50 to 100 to 20. Sometimes the event is free.
Okay.
Now,
Cool.
because it was breezy, the event was not free.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah. So, but it can range, and
So the star power definitely adds cost, pretty much.
definitely. Now, I can tell you this:
Mm-hmm.
if they knew ahead of time that and I'm telling you, there's people I'm forgetting, RG, and I feel horrible, and I'm so sorry that I'm forgetting to mention your name, and I know you were there and whatnot. However, I'm forgetting all the people. Just like I'm saying, like, I know one time they were like, "Cause Ray J's here." I never saw Ray J. I don't know where he was. I didn't see him, but I know they called it out on the mic and they shouted him out. And just like they were shouting out different people, and there was different athletes that were there, but I just don't know who they
That's
are.
good. But you got to see
Yeah.
the most important people in your life. That's all I meant.
Oh, I am super content. The only thing that would have made the stars align for me is if Tank or Jay Valentine would have pulled up in that piece. Forget about it. I would have.
Shout out.
Shout out to both of the guys. R&B money all day. But for me, that was the only thing that maybe would have made it just so much better.
So it would have took the 10 to like a 15 or something like that. Because you're already on 10. So you probably would have took it like way past that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Now, mind you, the next day I had to wake up early and go to work. And I think I spoke to you.
Yeah, we
where I
did
was
talk about
like,
that.
I cannot function. I don't know how people do it. As I mentioned, I don't live close to live. So it's like about a good 45 minutes to an hour drive there and back
Oh
for me.
gosh. And then
Yes.
you didn't leave till like 3:30, 4 o'clock?
Yes.
Oh God.
So, and then when I got home, I swear to God, RG, I was like, just looking through all my content, like, oh my God, I find, and it, for me, and I know it might be not a big deal to other people, but for me, one of my bucket list things was
Mm-hmm.
seeing the people I'm mentioning at one of these events so I can get my content and I could, just vibe out with everybody. And it was an unexpected, phenomenal surprise. It was like I got a surprise on Breezy's birthday.
But
So
that's how it should be, man. I honestly
yeah,
feel like that's how it should be.
most definitely. I concur with that because it is how it should be. You should definitely feel thinking exactly like I did, that it was well worth it. It was sure it was an inconvenience that I had to drive super far, but you know what? Once I was there and I saw everything was aligning, the parking worked out, I didn't have to, I don't know if I mentioned it. One of the other things I liked was there was a line that formed to get in when I arrived, so I'm standing in the line. And one of the things I like to do is stand in a line because I start talking to people about the event.
Got it.
So before I can even make conversation, one of the security approaches me and asks me, "Oh, are you?" He's actually asking like people in front of me, people behind me, and myself, not just myself. But he's asking, "Do y'all already have your tickets, or are you waiting to get in, or are you making a line to purchase the ticket to for entry?" And all of us were like, no, we're already good. And he's like, oh, well, then you don't have to make this line. You just have to walk right over to that area. It's like literally
Nice.
in walking distance. And he's like, you guys are all good. Just show them, your proof that you already good. And literally, I think I waited 10 minutes.
I like that. So they prioritize the already previous ticket holders.
Yes,
Super dope.
which
Shout
I've
out.
been to events where they don't do that, and I'm always like, well, this is whack.
Yeah. Why not buy a ticket when I got waiting line
Yeah,
like everybody else?
yeah. So I really like that. So I didn't have to make like this huge line. Even though there are times where I don't have to make the line, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make. In this situation, I had to
Because
make
she's connected, folks. I'm just saying. I'm
I am not. Stop saying that because then people are going to ask me for the connect, and Betty is not the connect.
nope. Betty's super humble. She will not brag, but her engineer, this guy's gonna brag. Listen.
So, so I did really enjoy that about the place too, because the bouncers could have just been uptight and given everybody a hard time, and that wasn't the case. I also noticed that from what I saw, at no moment that I was paying attention when I was in said line or when I was leaving, that people had stopped me to ask me, "Oh, is Chris Brown performing in there?" All that. I did peep how they were not holding the line, and in Miami, that is one of my bones that I pick with certain events and certain locations where they'll hold the line. I don't know if you know what that means.
Help me
But
out. Remember, I'm from Michigan, so help me out. What does hold the line mean?
they'll deliberately hold the line and not allow people in because they're waiting for it to get fuller, or they want people to believe that it is so full inside with so many people that they can't let you in, and it supposedly makes people want to be in there even more. Now, it could be because it was a breezy event.
Right.
So, it's crowded up in that piece.
Right.
But I did notice that they weren't doing that there. So I really like that too.
Dope.
All in all, I don't have any complaints. I normally give my spotlight to RG. I think I normally give from 1 to 5. And I'm always like, it's through the roof spotlights. For me, it is definitely more than 5. I enjoyed
Dope.
myself. I did it for it to inspire me and get that fire burning in me for when I am gonna see Breezy Bowl, and it did just that, and it makes me now so amped and so eager for July to come and Breezy Bowl to get here already.
Nice.
So, and I just couldn't wait to really talk about it. Would I go to live again? Yes, I would. Again, it is far for me, so I choose to pick a location that's closer. Because if I could do something that's closer, for example, and Jamie Foxx is going to be there, of course I'm going to do that.
Right.
For my female friends that are asking a lot of times, is it safe? Is it someplace I would recommend for you to go? I felt safe. There was a lot of police presence, not just around the parking, but outside of Fontainebleau. So it was something where if something were to have happened, I could have definitely approached one of the police officers for help. So I felt, and I was there by myself, so I felt safe. The parking, there wasn't like a lot of bad elements around, because that does happen in Miami, where there's people in the parking lots just trying to cause trouble. That was not the case here at all either. It is in a location that's farther up from Ocean Drive on Miami Beach. So it is what most people would call a less populated area, because of Ocean Drive and everything like on First and right in the middle of everything, that usually tends to attract a bigger crowd. So it could have been that. But at the end of the day, the main point is that I felt safe. The parking was closed. I literally walked from the parking to Live, and then from Live to my car with no issues whatsoever.
Very good.
and
Very good.
and I was by myself. And it was something where it was at a particular time of night where some people might be concerned, but I had, again, no problems. Would I recommend somebody single going there? As long as you keep your head on a swivel when you in Miami, sure.
Okay. I respect
And
it. I respect
make
it.
wise decisions would be the other thing that I would tell people that want to do this. And I mentioned that too, RG, because at my last event, it was a headliner event. I believe it was a doo-wop, and this is for something where not Alicia Keys, what am I saying? Keisha Cole. I met a young lady there that was by herself, like me.
Mm-hmm.
She told me she had traveled from Connecticut to come to Miami to just do a single girls trip, which I was like, girl, you crazy? That's dangerous in Miami. And she had told me, yeah, the night before I did this, and then tonight I chose to do this, and tomorrow I'm going to do something else. So one of the things that I noticed is that these events, no matter what female I talk to and the location,
All right.
they all feel safe.
Dope.
So
Dope.
So I wanted to make sure that it's not just at the Urban or in Wynwood that us ladies are feeling safe right now. It is
That's good.
also, I felt that way at Live too. And I think it has a lot to do with the way that Mike Gardner promotes his events and the people he has involved as far as security and at the actual locations.
I've noticed that. And I remember you early in this episode, you talked about the dress code. That does help to filter out certain folks that could be a problem. You know,
Sure.
I will say that the dress code does help. It
Yeah.
really does. Yeah.
But a lot of times, for example, when I do the events, it's like at the Urban, I can go in shorts and I can go in with my sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
I do tend to still dress, nice. However, it's a lot more casual when I'm going to other events. Um, but I do make sure, especially if I'm walking around by myself, that I'm not too exposed because that in Miami could definitely bring you a problem.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, if you're with a group of girls, that's a whole different story. But I also did drive myself. I've had people in the past ask, why don't I Uber to these events? Now, Uber in Miami is touch and go. You could have a bad Uber experience or you could have a good one. Unfortunately, I have had my bad Uber experiences in Miami where the Uber driver is just out of pocket or aggressive for whatever reason. And because of that, I tend to use Uber in Miami sparingly. I've heard horror stories and I've also had good experiences. But
Okay.
because of that, I prefer to drive. And I have people ask too because they're always telling me, isn't it something where driving around at night by myself, especially if I've been drinking? Well, I'm not really drinking.
Right.
So if anything, I will have a beer in the beginning of night and then I'm drinking water the rest of the night, if anything, or one
Yeah.
drink and then water. The other thing I make sure that I do is I get there early enough where I get parking, like in this situation at Live, where it was close enough where I know that if there is any issues, I can rush to my car or rush back to the actual event. I like to tell people just be cautious. Just
Right.
because you're on vacation in Miami doesn't mean
Everybody's on
Again.
vacation in Miami. Right.
Well, no,
Yeah.
look, I'm not. I wasn't.
What I mean by that, while you're on vacation, someone is like hunting to like take your money.
Oh,
They're at work. Yeah.
Exactly. And you could find the nicest people in the world here in Miami, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people that, they're out here trying to take advantage of others. So you got good experiences and you got bad experiences. So as long as you're smart about it, I again would definitely recommend it. If for my friends that have asked, Would I recommend them to do these breezy events where he's hosting? As long as you know and don't expect that he's going to be performing if it says host. If he does decide to sing or to do something, that is on him. But as long
Right.
as you know not to expect that and you know going in what to expect, yeah, I definitely recommend it. I don't regret doing it at all. I would do it again. Maybe not now because it was definitely overwhelming the amount of people, but I am what month are we in right now?
We are in May. I have to think
May.
about it too. Like, yes,
We're in May. I got 2 months
to recover.
to recover, and then I am ready to have some more breezy.
Dope.
So, and that is my wrap up
So like
for Spotlight with that be.
perfect timing, man. I tell you, man, you are a genius at these things. I do appreciate all the input. I learned a lot myself, dude. Well done.
Well, now you know
Mhm.
that Tank, I believe, is on June 26th. Will be doing his show. I think it's with a. I think it might be a festival. I'm
Okay.
not sure, but it's gonna be in Detroit.
No way. Okay.
I believe
All right.
it's June 26th.
Okay.
He just recently posted it. I might have reposted it if I'm not wrong. So
Well,
I'd
I'm
strongly
gonna go on
recommend.
your social media and find out because I'm already booked for the Wu-Tang in July, so I'm already geeked about that. So yeah, I'm definitely down for a concert in June. So yeah, Tank and Tank on the 26th. All right. So I'm gonna go
It's
on that B74 and I'm going to look that up.
that underscore B74.
Yep.
And it's with others, so it's not just Tank. It's Tank and like friends. I just can't remember everybody that's in the lineup, but it's an amazing lineup. Now there is something else I'm also doing in June. I mean, sorry,
Okay.
not in June, in July,
Okay.
which also has Tank and Keith Sweat and Drew Hill and Genuine. So
Oh, you got the
I'm telling you,
OGs upcoming. Okay.
yo, July is gonna be phenomenal. And since again that is my birthday month, I am.
All right.
And that is the other show that I would definitely recommend others to definitely do because
Super dope.
every time I've seen Tank live, it is amazing.
No, he's an amazing artist.
Hello. Talent is definitely not wasted on that man.
So, what would be a parting word you give to your fans and the people who swear by your insight, my friend?
So, be safe, show others grace, enjoy the positive energy when you're around it, and definitely spread love to others.
Wow, man, I think we get on a note. That is classic and perfect.
Was that